This particular play goes with the Salem witch trials, in which people are accused of witchcraft, and things kind of spin out of control and get out of hand. It ties in not only to Puritans in the 1600s, but it was written by Arthur Miller during the 1950s, and goes a lot with McCarthyism and the Red Scare and things that were going on during that time period. Those situations are mirrored in the play. The reality is when people grow up and they're electricians or podiatrists or whatever careers they choose, nobody's going to ask them who's the protagonist of the Crucible, or any of those types of questions. That's not the part that's relevant. What's relevant is this story is just one example of human nature, regardless of where we live or what time period we're in. And this play really speaks a lot to fear, and how fear and ignorance can drive people to act in ways that you wouldn't probably normally act in. Looking back at 9/11, during 9/11, all of a sudden we had this fear of anyone who might be even closely related to the Middle East or cultures that are there, even if they weren't from the countries that the actual terrorists were from, or if they weren't part of that organization or in no way were related to it. We had this fear, and all of a sudden there were supposedly random airplane checks, but all the names of people they called were clearly from the Middle East, and those people were being very directly targeted. And that specifically goes back to this ignorance of how we're acting out in ways that we think are justified to save ourselves, but if we were educated, those things wouldn't happen. I think it speaks a lot to lying and manipulation. Anyone who's ever tried to ask their parents if they could go out later than they're supposed to, or kind of bend the truth a little bit to get what they want, would understand that. And this play really shows like the extremes that people will go to in order to lie, in order to manipulate situations, the extremes they go to out of fear, in order to try to, in their own minds, justify and kind of protect themselves. So I absolutely think something like this could happen today, and maybe even to a greater extent, because of the internet and how information can flow and get out of hand, and people don't stop to fact check, and they just kind of roll with it, and we can really hit a lot of people on a wide scale very quickly. And those are the universal themes that I think apply and transcend the play itself.